All right. Here we go. So I'm super excited. We are actually getting to start the duos tournament finals bracket. So we did a pool play before getting here, and now we're down to the final eight, reaching the quarterfinals. It's been fun playing the duos bracket. I've learned a lot from my partner. Uh, it's going to be a tough road through here. Just kind of give you an idea. A lot of these players are ones that don't necessarily do as much ranked, but you got Boston and WO and White Devil Air. We had Lone Shark and Bahodi. They had to disqualify, unfortunately. Um, we got Antron Golden, Mark the Master. We got Snake and Emray. Got myself here and Terrence. Terrence is a regular top 10 player. He actually finished the season number one on Axis the one season. Last season that just wrapped up, he finished number eight. So definitely a legitimate partner right there. And then we're playing against Fatty D2 and General AM. Fatty D2 and General AM just kind of like me. They haven't been as much in the ranked in the last several seasons, but both of them had top 10 finishes, and General AM had a number one finish as well. And we're talking number one platinum, so I mean we're top dogs. So this game of four has four people who all finished in the top 10 at least one season, and one on each team that finished number one overall. So we definitely got some high competition. I know Fatty, General AM, and myself haven't played ranked as much. The few times I've played, I end up getting timed outs, which is going to be a pain when I do my my ranked quest this upcoming season here. Is going to be interesting. And then down here we got Julius and Mond, ATI, and down here we have Gamia and Jay Sabul. All of these players are excellent players. If you're on the Discord, you already know it. You see these guys very active throughout the Discord, and they're high on the ranks as well. So, in any case, I am going to move right into. We have started this game. I apologize. I had to skip round one because I didn't want to delay the game. We're actually in round two. I'm playing as Japan. So I'm going to give you the fast rundown. Probably one of the most important rundowns was West Russia only had four infantry survive. Excuse me, Russia only had four infantry survive West Russia on round one. So, and going into it, Germany, we decided to be aggressive, going ahead and right at them. So, infantry, artillery, we did build one tank to help speed the process and the march up. UK, you can see they did a attack where they took Borneo and put the aircraft carrier in C Zone 48, so we couldn't take Borneo back on J1. It's an annoying little play. It works, so it was a nice little move. It does restrict Japan that on that round one and even round two, as we're going to see as we start looking at what we're going to do there. Um, I did make a little bit of a boneheaded mistake on Japan 1. Thankfully, didn't pay for it. Uh, I almost always do, if you've seen any of my Axis games, I almost always do a Pearl Harbor, and I build a bomber for Germany, but we didn't think that was necessary. So in this route, I skipped Pearl Harbor since we didn't build a bomber, because the bomber for Germany really goes hand in hand with a Pearl Harbor because you're trying to minimize the Allies' ability to build an Atlantic fleet and do the Med Chuck and Finland Chuck and all that sort of stuff. So I didn't do Pearl Harbor, which I very rarely so often never do, so I didn't really think it all the way through. My main goals, I wanted a dead zone C Zone 44 so that he didn't turn into, if they did turn into a KJF, they couldn't do anything there. But he did have his bomber and a sub, so I needed to protect 61. He had a fighter in here, a UK fighter in there. So I did that. I put my battleship up with the three transports, completely forgetting that the fighter from the Szechuan here can go 1, 2, 3, 4 with the carrier coming over into 59 or 58, and then the carrier's fighter also be able to go there. So they actually had a good solid chance. They had their UK bomber sitting up here, by the way, after UK won. Actually, so they had a very good solid chance where they could have ran the two fighters against the battleship, and even if both fighters died and they killed the battleship but didn't kill the transports, the UK bomber could have come and finished the job um, and protected them. So Thankfully, they chose not to. They chose not to take that risk. I got lucky on that one. Terrence told me in the chat that I should have early on that I should put a destroyer there. I didn't. I was thinking one fighter from Pearl. Thankfully, it was a mistake. They didn't punish me for it, so I will just be happy and we're moving on. We're not going to make another mistake like that, hopefully. Finishing out, so yes, US is going KGF, so they're setting the KGF up. Russia made this nice aggressive play stacking Ukraine, which made some interesting choices here for Germany. We didn't have quite enough units. We really wanted to be able to prevent them from stacking West Russia on Russia 3. It's going to be really tight, especially if they want to take any of the IPC here. If they want, they'll have to leave somebody here to block the tank rush, and they have to kill um, Bello here, which is why we threw the AA in to make it that much more complicated. So they have to use really 3 or maybe even 4 ground units in order to kill Bello to prevent the tank rush that way. Because if they let the tank go, we probably can dead zone it. But if they kill this and stop the tank, it can get really dicey for Germany to attack. So as you can see, we did move over to Arch to try and pull them out. They'll be able to defend Moscow. That's not really too much of a question. That they'll be able to pull enough back there. But any case, UK, we also had this going on with Germany that we went ahead and blitzed the tank in. He had his one UK infantry here. They didn't have enough where they could attack both Egypt and the tank and get back to defend. So UK did try to kill the tank. The infantry died. Tank killed him. Did not hit. So they pulled back into Persia here. So now that's leading us into Japan's turn here. Now, ideally, with this happening, I would love to put a lot of pressure on India. Unfortunately, on Japan 1, we did lose 4 infantry on the ground as well, so that stung a lot, so we don't have much units, ground units as I'd like. And of course, we still got to take back Borneo. Got to be mindful, he does have a sub down here. He's got his bomber that can hit the sea zone. He's got this US fighter that can hit the sea zone, as well as this bomber can't hit unless I don't take Borneo. If I don't take Borneo, then we got to watch out for another fighter and bomber that can also hit that area. So we got to make sure we take out Borneo. We got to keep an eye out on the sub hiding up here in the Alaska zones. Because of our loss, they're spreading us thin out up here as well. I can't stack Burma here. He's got 7 plus 3 air. There's no ability for me to stack Burma. So our threat is only going to be 4 transports worth of threat onto India no matter what. And he's already got enough units down here. So unfortunately, I'd love to make him have to commit his US and Russia and UK fighters down here to India, so that would be, especially the UK fighters, so that they couldn't then protect West Russia after Germany goes. But, what you going to do? You got to do what you got to do. So J3 is going to be a very weak pressure, and J4 is not going to be a whole lot, but hopefully we can keep enough to try to help Germany and not let all these UK units just funnel right on up here. All in all, I'm on the positive side with Germany being as strong as it is. Japan has to recover from this Borneo attack and the loss of the 4 infantry. Mapping it out, I actually believe I ended up changing my mind. I'm just double checking my own communication because I decided that to go for the transports rather than the IC right now. Yeah. No, I was thinking about going for the IC this turn. Instead, we're going to take that out, and we're going to go ahead and do with a transport. And I'm going to put just infantry. I'm going to save the 2 IPC. If we get real lucky and we win 2 of the 3 between Burma and these 2, then I'll have enough for 8 infantry and an IC next turn. So. right. Yeah. Okay. Sorry, I had to pause there. So it's all seamless for y'all. There was a break there, so I forget what I was exactly saying, but we're gonna move. So combat. I'm gonna try and be greedy and take both these guys as it is. Main reason being, I'm taking a bomber here. I was just going to go for the one, but the bomber was going to have to either land here with one infantry, and possibly they have two infantry live, and that'd be worth it for them. Here, worst case scenario, I'm going to have a fighter and a bomber land here, and they have two infantry if they both fail. Hopefully that doesn't happen, though, so hopefully I at least hit one of those, and hopefully we take both of them. I don't want to waste my artillery here, so we're just going to crush Burma there. We got those guys available. We're going to take one transport down to these guys. We're going to use the battleship on him. We're going to go ahead and use a fighter too. So we should secure Borneo without having to worry about that. And we'll have the battleship and a carrier, probably two carriers, sitting there. Let's make sure I don't have any other moves to do. Everybody's committed. I think that is it. There we go. Right. I was kind of hoping he'd survive just to make it where I had two I could take the next time. I'll still be able to just kind of grab one and come here, grab one and come here, but it'd just be nice to take two, hit there, and then take these two and go, but oh well. Alright, let's get a hit right here. These are the big battles. Don't want misses here. Ah! Come on, 3 times. You got to hit fighter. There we go. Yay! There we go. Good, 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 good. Alright, so we got our 39. So that'll make it so I can build a factory and 8 infantry next turn. Woohoo! Oh shoot, I will have to think about one thing I didn't consider here. I gotta replay one thing differently than I was planning, but it's all good. I'm not too upset about that. Because he doesn't have a tank here. He can't blitz a tank and make this really annoying. All he can do is march people in there. We're going to have enough people coming, so. I'm going to go ahead. Since we know we're only going to have but weak pressure, I'm not going to be able to build enough to stack this next turn either. We're going to put pressure into Kaza as quickly as we can. Ordered them incorrectly. Do that again. Ah! Transports, I tell you. Alright, all 3. Do those guys. Then the infantry. And then drop them off here. So, I'm gonna pause. I'm gonna take my time and make the last couple boat decisions here in just a second. Originally, my plan was I was gonna move the cruiser over here with this battleship where he's just got his bomber that can hit. Um, but then I am leaving, and I was gonna move the destroyer and sub to 59 actually, because then that pins his sub where it can't go anywhere. I could hit him there, or hit him anywhere he could go. But I just remembered I'm dropping a transport. I gotta protect, or else a sub's just gonna kill that transport. So I'll relook at this. I'm pretty sure I'm just gonna have to move my destroyer sub in with the transport, and that's gonna be the play I'm gonna have to do instead of moving him all the way to 59 and pinning him. So, but I'm gonna go ahead and end the recording while I think about it just a little bit longer. If you see something different, then that's what's happened. But most likely it's gonna go cruiser, destroyer sub, other carrier down here. Okay, real quick. We're in between turns, so uh, we had U.S. Russia play, and then we've taken our turn as Germany, just to give the quick update on what's going on. So round two, U.S. bought 3 transports, 7 infantry, and an artillery, put them all down here on that eastern U.S. They, as you can see, took Morocco, came on down here. They did kill the tank that was here. They didn't take any losses on that, and preparing for clearing out the Germans in Africa and whatnot. There you can see they took out the tank. No units lost. And going into Russia's turn. Bought 9 infantry, bunkering down. They did send in infantry, because remember they were in Ukraine. They sent 1 here and back out to Caucasus. They also traded West Russia, which, as you can see, led to us with Germany deciding we're going to go ahead and stack into West Russia, where I can send my fighters can all reach West Russia. We went into it. He had 2 infantry residual there. If both infantry had hit, then it would have made a very dicey battle for Russia to then try and strike West Russia, where they could take a 1-round strafe and see if it was profitable at very low risk. However, so you can see we went in all in regardless, though. As it turned out, we ended up taking it. No units lost in West Russia. So we're going to be able to stack that fairly easily. So on the side note, the battleship only has so much to live, and in the KGF, Africa is nice for Germany and everything, but the U.S. can get units down here and clear it. And yes, it does. If they divert down here, that means they're not attacking up here, etc., etc. But we did a understacked mini stack of Ukraine. So technically 10-2 and this AA could be wiped out by 8-2, 3 tanks and 2 fighters. Technically. But do you want to send all this and risk your fighters hitting the back door when you got this sitting on your front door? And we're going to be pushing Japan on up this way as well. So it's going to be a pretty interesting call that they'll have to make on whether to strike Ukraine or not. I haven't really gone in, that was our plan. I hadn't really gone in and checked the dice. I mean, it may even be that we could send 4 fighters to West Russia now and send 1 of our fighters to Ukraine to make it that much more unlikely. The thing you got to be careful with Japan fighters supporting Germany is what UK can do. If UK can strike, then in order for Germany to leave that territory because of the turn order, then Germany has to leave units back to provide protection to the Air Force of Japan. So that's one thing we got to be careful of. It depends on where UK ends up deciding to go with their units here. Unfortunately, I would love to have been able to put more pressure here so that all these units needed to come down. We're kind of hoping that he doesn't have enough to be able to hold India and move and stack into Caucasus, and perhaps we can push him out of Caucasus with these, this 32, 33 with the fighter unit hitting here. You know, it'd be nice. It's probably defendable, but can they defend Moscow and that and India is the question. That I haven't really crunched down on the dice too hard. Partner Terrence took a look at it. It looks like it might be close to where we can dead zone Caucasus so that he can't also protect Moscow. So that's what we're hoping for. We're going to see what UK turns us, and then I'll be back with my turn. All right, folks, here we go. We're going into Japan 3. Oops. Let's see here. So the UK turn, they bought 7 infantry, 2 fighters, propped the 2 fighters down in here, and then artillery, dropped some landed there, some landed there. They did come in and go ahead and take Karelia and Baltic, which we did expect, of course. But now they're looking at, they put a transport here in C Zone 8, so to me, I don't think a free transport's good for France, so I'm assuming they're going to be bringing in with 5 hit points of German fighters. Are going to bring at least 4 hit points into C Zone 8, which that would mean, cruiser, carrier, 2 fighters. So there's 4. So coming into here, they'd have a cruiser, destroyer, and a battleship to come into the med. So about 4 hit points coming into the med. So I'm assuming they're going to put about 4 hit points here, 4 hit points here to be ready to come into the med in case. They did kill the tank, but didn't manage to take Egypt. To me, it's debatable. It may be early to say, but the fact that they were landing the fighter here with the infantry and artillery and Transjordan with the transport only able to pick up, the 2 units and a battleship coming here, to me, this kind of indicates that maybe they're going to leave the battleship transport to live because they're probably going to, they almost have to, when you do the math, they have to bail out of Caucasus. So the only way they could kill that battleship this turn without the, potentially this fighter having to land in there, or they just assume they're going to lose a fighter, is if they came with the fighters from this direction. But they have no transports for doing the med, and I just don't see any advantage, especially once we move my Japan fighters into West Russia and Ukraine. It wouldn't really make sense for him to come into the Mediterranean right now. So to me, this indicates we are going to get to keep our battleship and transport. These are the type of things, I'm talking this through because this is the type of things that as an Axis player or an allies, but just in general, you got to be thinking about. So, what did their plan indicate? The other thing too is they didn't send any UK up into Kaza or Caucasus. So, the fact that they didn't put any UK Air Force in Moscow or Caucasus tells us that they have to be giving up Caucasus to retreat back to Moscow. Maybe they come over here to Kaza. They could potentially stack Kaza and Moscow. I haven't run all the math, but I'm going to be pushing my Japan units certainly as much as I can straight up this way to hopefully try to dead zone Kaza and not let them get that Kaza stack. The Kaza stack is annoying when you have to face that. So that's what the UK play kind of tells us. We are going to go ahead. I did get my 39 IPC as we said last time, so I'm getting my factory and 8 infantry will be just perfect. So I have, I got 8 units to transport this turn. I'll have 8 units to transport next turn, and I'll have my factory up and running. So that'll be good news. Otherwise, woo, sorry about that. If it was me, I probably would have put one of my infantry here just to make Japan commit units to take it back. But since they did not, and they still don't have any tank in here, I could just blitz Burma and take it back and not waste any Japan units against UK here. So one of the interesting discussions that Terrence and I had, it's a simple thing, but was whether I come and just take West Australia or if we go ahead and take and attack East Australia. A lot of times I like to keep as many transports within range of India as possible. So the 4 up here and the 1 here would be 5 transports in range of India, and I like to go here and then come over here and then just keep that pressure on them in order to keep them honest of keeping the units grounded in India and not retreating back to Persia and then up into reinforcing Moscow. But his strong German presence here and the potentiality of the ability to stack Caucasus next turn, I don't know if that will do it if we can, but it's a possibility. Really drives his India units or his UK units kind of stuck in India. So, and that's what he kind of indicated here. They didn't have any UK units left in Persia. There's a couple here. Everything else went back to India. So, I don't think I have to keep as much pressure on India. I think they're pinned just because of that strong German front up here. So, I'm gonna go ahead and take the advantage of having a battleship fighter, artillery, infantry, and hitting these two units right off the bat, and hopefully get a little bit quicker turn on the taking of Australia, New Zealand, Hawaii, etc. So that's going to be the play there. And the other thing too that we kind of looked at is we only need 4 fighters in West Russia, and although I was comfortable leaving this as is, because even if Russia attacked it would put them very weak on the front, I think I'm going to drop 1 Japan fighter here just to make it less palatable for them, especially since they have no UK units in range of Ukraine, no ground units in range of Ukraine. So even if we bail out of it, uh, they don't have a lot of UK force that can hit there. So I mean, they're all 3 units away and such. So in moving there, there's not too much risk of having to leave a bunch of German ground, which the little bit we have coming will be enough to cover the Japan plane from getting killed by UK. So that's going to be our other part of the move. As you can see, we're going to just take as much as we can. I'm putting the 1 infantry in my Air Force hitting up here, and we're just going to move forward as fast as we can with Japan coming straight up the gut to help meet the Germans. had to think there for a second. Apologize for the silence there. My brain was going. So the main thing I was thinking about there was just the Japan bomber. So what I was thinking about is I don't want to just give them free C Zone 3 because next turn most likely we're going to come off Northwest Europe. I mean, there's a chance we might stay on there a little bit longer, but it's getting close to having lived its stay. So the fighters will be landing in here, which means we can't build in Karelia, which means they would have free access to C Zone 3. So I wanted to get my bomber close enough where I just don't give them a free access. At least I got to put a boat in there at least. Putting them in Berlin, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 takes the pressure off India because they wouldn't be able to hit India because all they had to do is move one unit to Burma next turn. Putting them in West Russia gives me the threat, one extra unit threatening India while still able to reach C Zone 3. So I kind of like it there. There's the possibility of doing something like over here in the China and still be able to reach there. But I kind of like West Russia. I don't think they're going to attack West Russia anyways. I think it's safe. I think we're good to go there. So I think that's going to be it. All right, so here we go. We now have made it to Japan 4 turn. I'll give a quick rundown since the end of Japan 3's turn. So the U.S. built 2 transport, 8 infantry and artillery. Place them as you can see. Since we no longer had a threat on Alaska, they weren't too concerned about that. They moved all their air force over. Kind of like I had expected, they moved their U.S. Fleet into C Zone 8 here. I did forget that he did have a carrier destroyer here when I was doing those counts, so they moved over here to 13 as well. But again, big thing to note is there's no transport in 13 here, so Italy and the southeast southern Europe here, they're safe from any Mediterranean attack for US 4 as well. So we know we're good for safe for another turn of having to worry about Italy. As I had kind of predicted, they did leave the battleship alone for this turn, so we were able to use our battleship and transport for one more turn. And as you can see, we did decide to go ahead and stack Caucasus. I'm going to have to move my fighters down here, but we were able to stack Caucasus with the mini stack of the Baltic, so he was not able to attack it, so we could get them directly headed towards Karelia so that we'll have options. Our main goal was to dead zone Karelia. Technically, we probably did not have it fully dead zoned, that they could have taken it with UK and then brought in US and Russian and maybe been able to hold it even with the fighters and these guys, because they're going to end up taking West Russia, so these tanks would be out of the picture. But they chose not to take Karelia with UK. Instead, they came back up here to C Zone 3 to start setting up the shuck instead of coming back into here, which is what they would have had. They'd had to come back into the Baltic in order to take Karelia, and that would have left them in an awkward position. With these Japan Air, we're trying to make things awkward for their boats, no matter what we do. And so we did get this successfully dead zoned for the turn. We probably, won't be able to stack it ourselves next turn, but we do have options. And this is just it felt very strong to have Germany stacked in Caucasus, at least for right now. But this is going to open up the possibility of some potential plays where Germany take Kaza and then Japan can land, come in, they can kill the one UK unit, take Kaza as much with tanks as possible, as little infantry, to allow Japan then to come in and land and stack in Kaza early under German control, but it gets a Japan stack going right next to Moscow much earlier than a lot of times. And then you can take back Caucasus on a turn and blitz the tanks through to Ukraine and get them back into the defense of Europe. So that's a possibility that we can be doing. I don't think it's going to happen on G5 and Japan 5. I don't think we got enough to do that. But if we can bring these tanks down, move these guys to Bellow, kind of keep us dead zoning Karelia, then we'll have more tanks available and possibly a G6 Japan 6 loading here. So the reason I mentioned that is I decided to buy 3 Japan tanks. I don't normally buy 3 Japan tanks, but here I go. I'm going to buy 3 Japan tanks because if I put them in J4, J5, they can be in either of these two guys' spots, and then J6, when Germany makes the G6 move, I'll have those 3 tanks extra to try to stack. Or if we decide against it, another possibility is Germany can hit here and Japan can blitz, all 5 of the tanks through to help hold Caucasus and start pulling some of these German troops back towards the Western Europe theater or up towards Karelia. So it's going to give us some more flexibility on the round 6. So round 6 is going to be a big turn for us on trying to shift the pressure where we're going to be able to push Japan units into a mix with the German units, hopefully, whether it's West Russia or it's Caucasus or it's Kazakh, whatever, that we'll be able to put some pretty good pressure come those upcoming rounds in there on Russia. Meanwhile, here we go again. Germany's trying to give as much headaches, make U.S. divert as much troops this way as we can. And so they're going to stall and mess with the Americans as much as possible. And I'm deciding I just want to play this route. And I'm going to build another transport this turn and bring one of these transports down to 37 with battleship carrier here and J4. J5 they go to Madagascar. J6 they can be in C zone 27. So that means I can have a battleship carrier fighter. Meanwhile, like I said, J4 to 37. J4 they're coming to Caucasus. J5 1 2 3 4 they could fly down to here to meet my carrier coming here, or my fighter that I have on my 37 can go 1 2 3 4 to help in Caucasus. So we got options. But J5 we're here, J6 we're here. Meanwhile, this guy can take the artillery, pick up the infantry, hit New Zealand J4, C zone 21 J5, and oh wait, 27 J6 at the same time. So we could have 2 loaded transports hitting on J6 with a battleship and carrier group, a destroyer, a sub, and then I can always fly a bomber down here into Madagascar. And so all of a sudden we got all those units here for their Americans he has to worry about. So then they got to worry about getting more U.S. troops diverted down this way instead of to Europe. Plus, because we're going to have that big old fleet possibly here, they're going to have to divert some fleet this way as well. So that's the idea. Now, because this transport's going to be naked, we need this destroyer sub to be protecting against this sub. Normally in this case, I send the destroyer sub here to 54 because then the US sub can't go anywhere here, not even down to 20 without the destroyer sub reaching him. So that US sub would have to go to 18. But if US sub goes there on US 4 and I'm wanting to go here Japan 5 and my destroyer sub are sitting here, they can't come support that. So then the sub has a free kill. So I'm going to actually accidentally maneuver my sub destroyer down to 43 where they can then go to 21 together. But that is going to give the US sub the opportunity to come back up this way into the Pacific and cause nightmares over this direction that I'm going to have to deal with, and I'm just accepting that consequence. So I'm going to have my destroyer sub here, a transport here. I'm going to build a transport, have my carrier cruiser here. So if they see what's going on and they block me from moving to 21 by having double fighters here or putting somebody here or whatever they decide to do, then this New Zealand group can always divert back to Hawaii and do the troop of Hawaii, Alaska, California, and picking these units up and bringing them back to the coast. So we can divert that, loop that back around, and do that category while the other transport comes and does Madagascar and South Africa by itself. So my goal is a Japan fleet sitting in 27 with 4 Japan units and 3 Japan air sitting here in South Africa, while also having Germany on round 6, while also having Germany and Japan getting an encircling of Moscow on 6. So we'll see. Of course, the opponents have their own tricks to pull up the sleeves to combat that with, but that's going to be the plan that I'm going to go for. One thing I got to be careful of is this UK sub sitting in here with my fleet. I got to make sure that I disengage this every time so that I can still shuck my units. The cost of my play is 1 transport coming this way, so I'm going to lose 2 infantry going to China this turn. So I'm always going to be 2 infantry less in China than what I could have been had I not done this play. So I got to make it worth pulling at least 2 infantry of US down south, or 6 IPC that I could get that normally I wouldn't get, or something to make it worth it. But I think we're going to, the headaches that we continue, because the U.S. is just going to be finishing off the German troops when the Japan troops start arriving. So that's the play. It may be smarter. I'll be honest. The better play may be just take these 4, shuck these 8, and just keep shucking, and just forcing as much straight up China as fast as possible, and not do this little cute play of trying to create headaches in Africa. But I want to play it, so we're gonna do it. Terrence, thankfully, he giving me a little bit of freedom. I don't know if he trusts my play or not in this regards, but hopefully he does. Oh, hold up. Did I just buy a sub? I did. We don't want a sub. We want a transport. So 3 tanks going in here. 6 infantry will come here. There'll be 2 left over, so I'll have 8, and we'll have my transport, so that we can then shuck 8 next turn. I'm sure that 9 extra IPC I'm spending here probably could be spent more wisely than tanks, but I just like it on the timing that does. The other thing that I do like Japan tanks for, if Japan tanks are sitting up in Venkai, they can always come over to help out a Karelia stack or get down to the Kaza stack at any point. So I'm not going to go tank crazy here, but I am going to get 3 tanks this turn. And we're just going to go, we're going to see what happens. Alright, first things first, we are going to disengage this right away, so I don't forget about that, so that we can, if you don't disengage this, then the fleet attacks the sub, including the transports, and then the transports can't non-combat move. So we got to disengage so we do not attack that sub. So let's see what else we want to do. Attack this guy. We're going to use our bomber to come down here. Now it's important we take this, or else this fighter the bomber 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lands in here with the sub. And I'm only going to have a battleship here, so I don't really want to have that capability to occur. So it's important that we do take Burma here. You know, it's a little overkill, but I do want to make sure I take them because I want to make Russia trade. So we're going to use the 2 infantry there. I'm debating sending the 2nd artillery, although it's the kind of free game for the tanks to go through, and I don't really, yeah, I just don't really want to do that right now. So we're going to hopefully do the 1-on-1 there. Oh, I'm going to pause for a second, just double. All right. Yeah, I just wanted to take a second. Being that this is a partner game, I don't want to make another silly mistake like I did with my battleship before and giving him 2 fighters a chance. I'm okay with the 1 sub shot at him. Hopefully. Alright, here we go. I think we are good. Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, we can all of them can make it back to there. Okay. Alright, first shot hit. Offensively, first shot hit, that is. There we go. Alright. Good deal. This is the other key one. We just need that bomber to win right off the bat. There we go. Good. Now these should be wins. Just a matter of did they get a hit back or not. Is Russia's trades harder or not? Alright, one more. We could have a perfect 4 for 4. I hope this is recording okay. I know my screen's getting a little laggy on me, so I apologize if the recording's not the greatest. If it's skipping again, I'm going to be frustrated. But there we go. Hey, 4 for 4. Cannot complain about any of that whatsoever. Actually, 6. I'm actually going to keep those tanks back. And the reason being is Burma, because he's got 14 units he can move over here. We're just going to have the 6, 7, 8 that could come back if I needed to. 9, 10 land. We'd have a battleship cruiser we could hit with, and then we'd have all my air here. So we want to make sure that we try to keep that dead zone. We don't want something silly, of course. If they did that, we could jump to India and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But there really is no extra bonus to the tanks being here other than potentially being able to go through either one of these to a strike on Moscow. But we're not really at a striking Moscow point right now, so there's really no super benefit there. So we're gonna leave the tanks back there. All right, so we're gonna bring him here. Gonna bring these guys here. I said this is probably gonna be looked at as a mistake because that's gonna let the sub slip that way, but so be it. We're gonna move the carrier cruiser to pick up the new transport being built. That leaves us the sub versus battleship or sub versus carrier cruiser, which, you know, maybe I'm being a little risque. I don't know, but I'm gonna go with it. This transport's got these guys coming. I can meet up in 21 next time. Here we got 2 fighters and a sub versus a battleship carrier and a fighter for just 1 transport. I'm okay with that. I debated, you know, should we push a 3rd unit into these guys and, you know, do some heavy trades here, but I think we're better off just having the units, having some infantry still to be able to trade with. You know, this is always one of those things with Japan. You start out, you get this heavy, too many artillery for your infantry a lot of times. So that's why I was happier building tanks versus the infantry as well, or excuse me, artillery as well for right now. But anyways, I think that is our turn. Hopefully no silly glaring mistakes, which there probably is because I just like to make those. And we're going to hit OK. So my 5 fighters and bomber, 1, 2, 3, 4, are still helping dead zone the Mediterranean for if they decide to come in for killing that battleship. Again, because we stack Caucasus, they can't really, they do have the capability of using the 2 fighters and a bomber from UK. But otherwise, it's only 1 fighter, 1 bomber from the US unless they come into the Med, in which case my Japan fighters are helping. So we're going to get at least 1 more transport of units coming advanced to the either to Caucasus or Ukraine, or, you know, do 1 other load down towards Africa to create more headaches down here. So we get 1 more blast with the transport and battleship in Germany 5 at least. All right, I think that's everything. I'm just going to mobilize my units, and I'm going to end the recording here while I just double check, make sure I didn't miss anything.